Wow. People are upset. People are upset in the My Hero Academia fandom after the latest events that went down with the massive reveal of the UA traitor, the traitor of the school, the traitor of our heroes, the traitor of the allied side has seemingly finally been revealed at the end of the latest chapter of My Hero Academia, chapter 335, and people aren't happy. People are not happy about who the person is, the way it was done. A lot of people are just saying in general, this was one heck of a lackluster reveal, and they feel like it was just like pointless. And Horikoshi, what was you doing? Now, there's a couple of things to be said about that big reveal. In general, there's a lot to be discussed just leading up until that whole big climactic reveal of the traitor of UA. But I definitely gotta say that, honestly, for me personally, the traitor, I compare it to something that recently went down in One Piece, where there was a big traitor in One Piece. I kind of feel like it somewhat is resembling of that, except less quality, because at the very least in the One Piece series, the big traitor over there, we knew a little bit about this character, but there's also, I feel, an explanation as to why. Not only just the lack of development of this character, but also in general why people feel the way they do about the big reveal. And again, I'm comparing it to One Piece because I feel it was the same situation over there in One Piece of, yeah, the character might have not been the most important, so the reveal didn't hit the way it was supposed to, but I think there was other factors involved as to why people didn't really get that same bang for your buck, so to speak, type of twist when the traitor was revealed. So let's jump into it, baby. Let's talk about it, because again, a lot needs to be said about the traitor of UA. Let's do it.
No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done.
Yes, people, it finally arrived, the moment of truth of who the heck is the traitor of My Hero Academia. Now, I'll be honest with you, there was discussion in the community that I've seen of people even saying maybe Horikoshi abandoned this plot thread altogether. Maybe this is something that he's not going to go down, because it feels like this has been set up, what, hundreds of chapters ago now or something like that? Like, at the very least, 100+ chapters that this was set up of, oh, wow, there's somebody that's, you know, betraying the school, there's a traitor amongst us, and it's been a while since we actually had that, and nothing was done with it. And I personally feel like Horikoshi probably was going to do this a lot sooner, and one thing led to another where he couldn't do the big reveal, and he's kind of doing it now, and maybe that's also part of the reason why it's not hitting the way it's supposed to. But let's talk about everything, and then we'll get to the big thing and we'll break it all down. Because the chapter starts off with a cover page of All Might holding an egg and looking at it, and immediately you're gonna be thinking like, well, All Might, are you trying to make some boiled eggs? What are you doing here, fam? No. Pretty much, I'm guessing that's supposed to be resembling that he's holding the egg before the chick hatches, essentially resembling and being metaphoric to the students, that the students are about to hatch out their egg. Essentially, the students are about to graduate from school, again, metaphorically, in terms of they're about to be really going into the field for their biggest, most climactic battles of all time. On top of that, All Might, the speech that he just had from the end of last chapter into this chapter of, it's time, like, we can't coddle you guys no more. It's time, if you want to protect what you love, this is the moment of truth. So I think that was very symbolic of him just staring at this, you know, unhatched egg of the chicklets are about to hatch. It's about to be prime time. It's about to come to a full circle, so to speak, of where the plot is at, and these characters are about to make their move. But I will say this, that even, you know, starting off from the first page, it felt like a lot of this chapter was a recap to a certain degree of things that we already as readers know happened, and it was kind of disguised as, well, we're divulging the information to the other characters, as if one sentence couldn't say, oh, so, you know, we told yada yada about what happened or whatnot. So it kind of felt like that to a certain degree in certain aspects of, minus the last page, of course, you know, last couple pages. Like, once we went to the villain side of things, actually, it didn't really feel like that. It felt more so with the heroes, a recap of like, hey, we already know this happened with Star and yada yada. Because it basically starts with Deku questioning All Might. So, wow, Star actually left some, you know, lasting damage on all for Shigaraki, which again, we kind of, you know, we just witnessed this amazing battle. I don't know. I'm still going to stand by my opinion, how I felt about that. I really rocked with that battle. I loved that fight with Star, you know, Star and Stripe versus All for One, Shigaraki. I love that battle. But, you know, when he's asking the question, I'm like, Yeah, we know this. And again, if you want to showcase that, oh, the characters are getting the information that we already know because obviously they weren't there to see it, it takes one sentence or even just one page can do all of that. But All Might starts telling him, yeah, you know, based on, you know, the aircrafts that were recording everything, it seems as though there was some damage sustained to Shigaraki and the quirks, a lot of his library of quirks within him based on what New Order did. Essentially, it really left a little bit of a mark, which is really, again, awesome because a lot of people were, I gotta say it again, dreading and just looking at it as it was, you know, just a horrible stain on My Hero Academia. The fact that the #1 hero of the United States came and got the L, and that was that. The fact that there was some damage, a delay in the plans, which gives them an opportunity to advance, and this is a good opportunity as well to push forth with Deku, you know, learning One for All, learning more about how to use it. Like, we already see that he has somewhat of a grasp of it, and in his little vigilanteism that he had of that arc, the Deku solo hero stuff, he also got a little bit of more of a grasp of it. Now with this extra delay, this could be the key to he needs to really have a full-on grasp of it, maybe being able to use all of the powers in unison together or something like that, and this will probably be where he gets the key that is going to give him what he needs in order to take down and defeat these villains and, you know, end this war. But all the heroes around are on the hunt still for Shigaraki, all for one, trying to find him, but of course, it's damn near impossible to find him once he, you know, dips out of the scene. Just like before all that happened, they couldn't find him. Yet again, he is in hiding, and they're in a damn near, I don't know, they must be on some remote island just like off the shore of Japan or some shit, because you just, how do you not find this massively powerful group of villains? On top of that, they're all a bunch of misfits, and I'm sure like somebody like Toga isn't going to be the most extra careful when moving around. You telling me like some random person just doesn't see Toga walking around or something? Like, you know, they must be really low key, and a lot of them must just really not be out there, because again, how the hell don't you see them? How is not a single whisper of, hey, they're in this cave over here in Hokkaido? But All Might says like, yo, we're preparing, this is going to be an all-out war when we do find them. Like, this is not nothing, a little skirmish, it's going to be straight up war at this point. And he starts breaking down, which again, this is why I said it felt like a recap. He starts breaking down the threats that we have. He says Shigaraki, the most deadly, basically the strongest of all the threats. Then we got All for One's regular normal body, that he's out there as well. We got Dabi with flames as deadly as Endeavor, which that's kind of interesting in the pecking order of going down the row of like, okay, so this is the biggest threats. Is Shigaraki at #1, All for One's second body #2, which he might even be able to reverse the two of them, because why is he keeping that, you know, crippled body to begin with? You know what I'm saying? So there's something interesting there. But then third, Dabi being the third on the list, as if he's the third biggest threat of the league and stuff like that, that's interesting to know. I mean, again, there's not many people at this point from, you know, the big collective that we had that are left. Obviously, a lot of them have been defeated, but still, okay, so Dabi's third on the pecking order. And again, they say he has the flames similar to Endeavor's, although I think Endeavor would kick his ass. 1v1, Endeavor not holding back, not being like, ay bendito Toya. Like, I think Endeavor would wax him. Then there's Toga, which they just describe her as a constant thorn, or, well, yeah, you know, it's Toga. It's the Bay, the misunderstood Bay. 6 remaining near high ends, which, don't forget that Endeavor got his shit rocked by, I don't want to say it was a high end. I believe it was either near high end or maybe something above that, but still, 6 of those bad boys. The Nobles in general have just been nothing to mess with, nothing to play around with. So, yeah, 6 near high ends. That doesn't sound good at all. Honestly, I would put at times one of those freaking Nomu, the near high end, probably even more dangerous than Toga. Like, Toga can be dangerous, and obviously we see when she awakened her quirk and all that jazz, but those Nomu, they're not to be played with. Endeavor knows, and his eye knows for sure. And then, of course, there's still remnants of the Liberation Front, and then some of the escaped convicts that haven't been put back in prison. Although Deku, I think, did a fair job of getting and cleaning up the streets and getting rid of a lot of those convicts, like Muscular and stuff like that. So it's not all doom and gloom when it comes to, at the very least, the escaped convicts, because a lot of them did get cleaned up thanks to Deku when he was out in the streets and whatnot. And the Liberation Front, I guess, yeah, with their technology, that one hacker guy in particular is probably the biggest threat of the remnants of them. However, on our side of things, considering the fact that, let's not forget that a lot of heroes were hanging up the cape, they couldn't do it, they were stepping down, they were walking away from this life, there's only like less than half of what we initially had on the allied side that still remain, which I ain't gonna lie, considering you take in all of this information, right, of how bad the cards are stacked against the heroes in this, and then you add that ending of like, hey, and there's a traitor as well, it kind of feels almost like overkill. Like, we don't need need that plot thread per se right now. It would have been better saved for a moment where like, okay, boom, it's time to, you know, let loose because the villains need a dub or they need a little bit of a help. Like, they don't really need help. I mean, we're outnumbered, we're outmatched. We've seen that Shigaraki on his own, what he could do. We just lost the #1 hero of the United States. We ain't getting no more help from outside of Japan. Yeah, well, if anything, we need a Traitor on their side, you know what I'm saying? And once again, All Might regurgitates that, hey, if you want to protect what you love and care about most, then it's time to fortify yourself. Essentially, it's time to really get to your best possible self right now because we're going into, again, all-out war. And I was kind of happy when Bakugo screamed out, oh, we're already on it, because I was just kind of like, All Might. It's crazy that I get it, we're at that time, I get it, we're at the crunch time, and it's so desperate and dire that we need the students, but I still can't get over the fact that y'all was just coddling these kids not that long ago. Now all of a sudden you're like, hey, the fate of the world, a monster just killed the #1 hero, and you little scrublets, you little chicklets, it's time for y'all to get on it. Like, it's a scary situation, and you're talking, I don't want to say nonchalant, you're talking like really serious to them, but it just feels, I don't know, a little strange, I guess. But you can again take into account that that's what the situation is calling for at this point. Although I'm just saying, all it would take is for Eddie to come in there, touch All Might, put him back to normal, and we will really be cooking with some gas. You know what I'm saying? But some of the other students as well chime in that like, no, we've been preparing for this shit. Uraraka, Ida, they were like, All Might, you ain't been paying attention because you've been following Deku all around, but we've been doing the damn thing too. We ready. We out here, fam. We outside. Okay, they're not really outside because technically they're holed up in UA, but you know what I mean? They're ready. And I don't know if it was Horikoshi that was baiting the whole little fiasco that happened, I want to say it was a couple months ago now with Mineta, but it was odd of Mineta commenting on Ojiro as he's changing his clothes. Do you have to do this right here? Like, I couldn't tell if it was that he was annoyed of like, yo fam, I want to see some busty woman. I wish I could see Star and Stripe changing clothes. Like, was it that, or was it like, you know what I'm saying, Horikoshi really playing into the fandom of he was hot and bothered? I'm almost certain it's not that he was hot and bothered, but either way, I wish Horikoshi would just get away from that because it is a flame of toxicity of when you dive into that, the fan wars that come from it. It is toxic of the back and forth between people like, yeah, he's this, yeah, he's that. Like, oh my god, Horikoshi, stop fanning the flames. I get it, that female Fujoshi fandom really goes crazy, but now we got him commenting on Ojiro getting undressed. Like, come on, bro. Just a side note there that I caught. I was like, Horikoshi, what are you doing here? You trying to be slick there? And I rocked with Tokoyami when he was like, yo, we're gonna follow Deku to the end until we take Shigaraki down. I was like, yeah, man, Tokoyami, he used to be one of my top tier guys of this series. I'm like, I want to see him do some badass stuff. I would love for Tokoyami to have a really insanely epic moment in this whole big battle in this final war coming. Like, yeah, give me some Tokoyami epicness. And Horikoshi's still trying to keep some staples in there and some semblance of what the series used to be, because Deku's like, yeah, even Kachan agreed to spar with me so we could train and get things going. And then Bakugo started screaming, yo, some inmate must have ripped your ears off or something, fam. Who said I was doing any of that? I just want to test my skills out, alright? Like, relax with that shit. I was like, he's still in there, guys. Like, Bakugo may have calmed down on a lot of it and the actual aggressively picking on, but in terms of the funny nature of their relationship is still intact. There's still the Vegeta x Goku camaraderie in a sense there of like, oh, I'm gonna still scream on you, fam. I'm just gonna do it with love. And as it just keeps going, all of 1A is like, yeah, we're ready, we're doing this, we're doing that, and All Might could just tell. And it's kind of also not only from All Might's perspective, but just in general, I feel it was to showcase to the readers the big change, you know, from day one of these kids coming into the school, that, you know, the tests and everything, they've come a long way to the point we're heading towards a big war that they're going to be involved in. And essentially, if you really think about it, they should be, by all said and done, they don't really need to go to 2A, 3A, 4, whatever the hell. Like, this should be it. This should be graduation to them. They really are full-blown heroes. They just maybe need like a course here or there to get a little more maturity so that we don't have certain like little funniness or whatnot and get more strategy and stuff like that in terms of scholastically, academically. But in terms of being ready for the pro stuff, they're ready. They're pro heroes. They've been through it all and they're going through even more so. Like, there's no need for a 2A, 3A unless like, hey, you want to get a little bit more mature, you want to learn a little more strategy and stuff like that. But they got it. They got it. And All Might ends it with a speech as if he's talking to All For One himself right there. All For One, you messed with the wrong one. They're ready for you. This is gonna be your downfall, fam. Where you done started something you can't finish, fam. But again, like the first half of the chapter was like, it was alright. It was just a morale boost. It was very shonen-esque. Friendship, we're ready for the finale, let's go. When we cut to the other side of things, that's when it got serious, it got dark, and that's where Horikoshi always shines the most. I will always say that My Hero Academia shines the most the darker it goes, because we cut from that to just, oh my god, it's so freaking dark. Shigaraki agonizing in pain on the floor, and I'm like, this is when Horikoshi gets in his bag, fam. Although All For One is a real, like, he's really something, to say the least, because as he's talking about and to Shigaraki there, he's just referring to him as, oh, my other self at this point. Like, he's really, at this point, like, oh, no, that's not Shigaraki. That Tomoda kid, he's out of here. Like, yeah, there's a little bit of a merger, but this is my other self now. I own this dude. This is me. And he tries to explain to him, like, yo, you fine. It's just that your quirks are worn from, you know, the damage that New Order did. And you can see that Tomoda's still in there. That is Tomoda when he's screaming, kill, hurt, hate them all. Like, that is Tomoda. That's clearly Tomoda. Even following that, the line of what basically Tomoda has always resented All Might. He says, as long as a single person remembers his face, I won't be able to, you know, stop feeling this torment. And essentially, yeah, like ever since the very first invasion of when Shigaraki tried to invade UA and All Might put a stop to his plans in the very beginning, he's kind of been a thorn on Shigaraki's side, and he's hated him more and more, and the resentment has grown to this is where it's like, I could see Tomoda being the one that kills All Might. That would be very dark. If Night Eye's premonition comes to fruition, I feel like it wouldn't be served any other way properly unless it was Tomoda that did it, and that would set off Deku into a whole other verse. Like, imagine we end part 1 of My Hero Academia with Tomoda killing All Might, and something happens where either he goes to jail or he leaves Japan for good and goes to hiding somewhere else until like years later. Whatever the case may be, that would be massive. And All For One exclaims that I could sense that our minds are merging, because I could feel that hatred that Tomoda has, because, you know, Tomoda is always almost like the flip side, if you think about it, very interesting, of All For One. While All For One can't stop smiling, like you could be doing any sort of thing, ripping his toes off and shit like that, and he's still like, hey. Meanwhile, this dude Tomoda is there just nonstop hate them, anger. It's almost as if they need each other to a certain degree, and it would be a perfect balance if you think about it, merging the two of them, the constant smiling and the constant hatred and anger. And then it got really bizarre, and it got really weird when All For One is talking to, again, almost essentially himself at that point, because remember, it's like 97-98% of All For One in that other body, and he's talking to him like a baby. It's really weird if you really think about it. He's talking to himself like a baby, like how you would talk to a child. Like, there, this is for the best. You know, New Order did what it did, but ultimately, at the very least, we got rid of it. You gotta look on the bright side. I'm like, this is weird. This is psychologically messed up, and this is why I will continue to say that Horikoshi needs to do a horror manga after this. This man, like, that is horrifying. He is talking to himself, essentially, in baby talk. Like, yo, we got rid of that big obstacle. Let that light in your heart. Like, this is so weird. Then, All For One switches his attention to speaking to Dabi. He's like, yo, my bad. Things went left. I'm gonna have to continue to keep you on standby a little bit longer. My fault, G. And Dabi's like, no. Yo, my father's still strutting and stuff like he's the shit out there. Like, yo, I want to handle this dude already. I want to put him for a dirt nap. I want to put him down under. And this is the parts that All For One shines and why he's able to keep things going. I mean, for crying out loud, it feels as though majority of everything that's happening, minus a few setbacks again like New Order and stuff like that, is all according to a very long-standing plan that All For One has had for a long time. When he goes to tell Dabi, there's a couple of differences between me and you. We're very similar, but at the same time, it's like, I strategize and I plan for years in advance, for decades in advance. Like, this is all a part of my design. There's a few foibles and a few flaws here, but this is still going according to plan on some Sosuke Aizen. Because he's like, not only do I plan years in advance, decades in advance, I also make sure I leave multiple ways to get to my goals, so that if one fails, there's another entrance. That one fails, there's another route. There's multiple endless routes, essentially, to my goal, which that is very on character, on brand for All For One, and again, why we're where we're at right now with the story. If you think about it, it's almost as if All For One is Horikoshi himself. And he goes on to explain, now that the advancement, of course, of Shigaraki, you know, essentially me taking over his body, has been delayed, and also Deku has been fortified within UA's walls, which that also kind of reinforces a little bit that, okay, UA may have some technology that is a little bit difficult for All For One in terms of, you know, breaking through, because they must really have good stuff that keeps, like, you know, it's like Fort Knox and stuff. And he says, let me tell you one other thing that I have that you kind of lack, Dabi. Like, this is something that you don't really got, and it's friendship, fam. The power of friendship. No, I've got friends to spare, and we cut to the final page that set the community on fire, because it is Hagakure, aka Invisible Girl, and seemingly she is the traitor of UA that has been set up for a long time. A lot of people thought it was Aoyama, a lot of people thought it was a few different people, and it still very well could be. There could be a duo, maybe her and Aoyama together, and we just saw Hagakure to kind of rattle the fandom for a little bit or something like that, but people hated it. And I'm gonna compare it again to what I said earlier in this video, that I feel like it was very similar to the big reveal, which I don't really want to spoil it in case you want to read or watch One Piece one day, but there was a big traitor in One Piece, and a lot of people didn't really care for it per se, because they were like, it wasn't the most important character. I don't necessarily think that's the issue though, because yes, Hagakure, who the hell is that? Like, she's been for 300 chapters, we don't got really any characterization, character development. Absolutely, in that regard, you're right, 100%. Like, this is the traitor, but I think it hits even less, and I think the main crux of the problem of why it hits so badly is the fact that we're this late in the game, and this traitor isn't as important to things as it would have been earlier on. We're very much so backed into a corner. We don't even need this traitor, technically. We don't really need it, because at the end of the day, we're already at a point where, yo, we're outnumbering them. They just, you know, they barely got lucky with this New Order stuff, and that was somebody from completely outside of Japan, but we don't even need a traitor per se, and things are so grandiose so that it's not really all that important. Yes, it would be a little bit more impactful, absolutely a lot more impactful, if we loved Hagakure and we had a big, you know, relationship with the character. Maybe she was best friends with, you know, Uraraka or something, or her and, you know, X, Y, and Z. Maybe her and Mineta were lovers, whatever the case may be. That would have made it a little more impactful. But nevertheless, I think the fact of where the story is at, and we're at such a high climax, that a character that is just like, you know, a member of UA that we don't really know too much, doesn't really do much. Similar to in One Piece, when that big reveal happened, it was a character that wasn't the most important, so you're not going to have that impact. They're just like, hey, they're not that important, but also there's so many other huge things happening right now, and big things and big plays, that it's like, oh, a traitor that, okay, whatever. Not that I'm defending it, because to be honest with you, like, I kind of expected that it would have been this character, but I also expected that we would have got some development before this happened. And I'm sure Horikoshi is going to do something big in terms of, like, you know, building up this character and their relationship and yada yada, but still it feels like, yeah, kind of a letdown, I ain't gonna lie. It's like, why her? You know, if it was somebody else, even if it was, I don't know, Jiro or something, if it was somebody just more relevant and more, you know, developed, it would have been interesting and a little more impactful, even despite the fact that we have grandiose things going on that are way bigger than just a small traitor that, I don't know. So yeah, the traitor of UA has been revealed. Curious what you guys think. Do you think there's going to be multiple traitors, that it's not only Hagakure, it's also going to be Aoyama, or what's going on there? You think maybe she could be a triple agent and she's pretending to be a traitor for them, but really she's working with UA and she's just getting inside info? And how do you think it's all going to play out? Because if this is the way things are going, then I'm predicting that more than likely, if she is truly 100% working for All For One, no strings attached or anything like that, then more than likely they're going to have the villains breaking into UA, and it's going to be an all-out war massacre in the school, blowing up the school. And once again, like I said earlier, a few months ago, the civilians were right. Get this kid out of our school. He is a danger to us. I said it before and I'll say it again. The civilians were right to not want this kid in the building. Y'all want to save him? Cool beans. Why it gotta be here? And your overall thoughts and expectations for the future of the manga. How do you feel? Yay or nay on Hagakure being the traitor of UA? Again, it's lackluster, but I don't feel like it's downright devastatingly horrible, considering the fact that it's not necessarily because Hagakure is an undeveloped character, but it's more so that there's just so many other big things that this would have been more impactful, I don't know, pre the last war that we just had. Like, I think that would have been a big deal. Now it's kind of like, just move over. I even forgot about that plot thread for a while. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links are in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life, boy. Have an awesome day. Peace in. And the traitor finally revealed in My Hero Academia. Let's go. People are mad. Like mad. Have an awesome day.
So just go to find me.